what nobody's telling you about being a creative, being an author, being an artist, musician, any of those things, is the stuff that you have to have lined up before you ever try to get into this industry. We need to talk about your mental health. We need to talk about your emotional health, your physical health, your financial health. Hell, we'll talk about your spiritual health. See, these are things you have to have lined up and in good working order before you ever try to professionally do anything artistic, anything creative. We have to talk about these things because it turns out, and this is what no one else is telling you, it turns out that being a creative, being an author, artist, any of these things is not separate from being able to get the kids to bed on time, from whether or not you're going to go to the gym tomorrow morning, whether or not you go to church for all I care. It has to do with your income taxes. It has to do with, how are you getting along with your family or your friends? It has to do with all of those things. It has to do with how well are you taking care of your vehicle, okay? It has to do with every single aspect of your life, because when you are an artist, when you are a creative, when you're an author or other kind of artist, these things don't go away. You are constantly in that headspace, even if you have another job, which, of course, as you know, most of us artists do. We've got some other day job, some other, part-time or full-time job that we do just to pay the bills, right? Long before you worry about, should I submit to Kindle or should I query an agent, long before you do any of that, you and I have to sit down and have a serious talk about your life and your lifestyle and who you are, where you're headed, and the risks that go along with choosing to be in any of these creative industries. Because there's a lot to it. And I have seen and taken a shit ton of courses online, in person, at the library. I've read a shit ton of books about all this stuff, and none of them are talking about how to be a successful author when you have clinical depression. Anybody here have that? How to be an author when you are plagued with anxiety. Do you ever get anxious? Do you have anxiety by any chance? Anything like that? Do you have a drug addiction? Do you have a food addiction? How healthy are you? Well, when's the last time you went to a doctor? When's the last time you went to a dentist? What are your cholesterol scores right now? You wouldn't think that any of that has anything to do with publishing a best-selling novel, but let me assure you, King, it does. It really does. So that's what this is about. This is about getting ready, being prepared to handle what this life is going to throw at you when you try to do it yourself. Self-publishing, traditional publishing, legacy publishing, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. There is shit you need to have lined up. So this is for adults. This is for kids. Like, I wouldn't say real young, but like high school. This is a great place to start for high school kids. Stuff that it's everything that, I have been a professional author, starting with, there are some things I cannot tell you because for legal reasons. So I'm not going to tell you how much I sold my first book for. I will tell you that it was not 6 figures. But it was pretty fucking close. And you can fill that in however you wish. Going from there to where I am now, dude, if I could go back to 2008, 2007 and sit my young ass down and say, Tom, before you sign that contract, okay, before you write that query letter, before you submit this novel to an agent, before you do any of that, please, let's sit down and get together once a week, a couple times a week for an hour or 2 hours and talk about some shit that you need to know before you ever do that. You're gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be cool. A lot of your so-called dreams are gonna come true. But if you want to enjoy those dreams, man, you better be ready for it. You better be prepared for it. And frankly, my experience, personal experience, your mileage may vary, but the creatives among us, we have very different needs and backgrounds and histories than people who are not quite so creative. Now, I believe everyone's creative in some way, shape, or form. I believe that, being into model trains is creative. It's not my thing, but that's creative. I'm not into golf. I don't think golf is terribly creative. And so I'm not going to talk about golf. I'm not going to talk about model trains for that matter. But I am going to talk to you scribblers and drawers and musicians and singers and painters and everything else, with perhaps the odd engineer thrown in just for good measure, because there's just shit out there that nobody is telling you. And my goal, my personal private goal in the world before I leave this mortal coil is world peace. I'm not even fucking kidding. That's my goal. I want world peace because all we have to do is choose it. If we would just choose peace, things would be so much better, and we just insist on not choosing it. So I'm doing this because I believe it's important, because I believe it's valuable, and because I believe it will lead inevitably, even if in a small way, to world peace. So I'm not in this for you guys. I'm in this for me. This is all selfishness. I want world peace, and the only way I know how to do it is to change people's lives and perspective one person at a time. I've had a little bit of experience doing that, and I think it can happen for you too. So let's get healthy first. Then let's write our book. Then let's make an album. Then let's do whatever. Then let's draw for a children's picture book. Then let's do our photography, whatever. That's what all this is going to be about, okay? Let's get healthy and do, if we're going to spend the time to write a novel, if we're going to spend the time publishing books, making music, being artists, if we're going to spend precious minutes and hours of our finite lives doing those things, then for God's sake, let's do them well, and let's be healthy about it. You ever met any unhealthy creatives? You're looking at one. I'll see you inside.